Hey everybody, so here we're looking at the Cube Computer Plexi, and I'm in a process of getting ready to swap out the processor on it. The system currently has an AMD Athlon II quad core 630. So for example, if we look up in CPU-Z, you may be able to see it is the Athlon II 630 quad core CPU. It's running at stock clocks, and late last year, as part of doing some troubleshooting with a different system, I picked up this AMD Phenom II 6-core 1045T on eBay. I think I paid like $30 for this CPU, and since it was left over and not installed, my intentions were to eventually install onto the Cube Computer Plexi. So that's what I intend to do. But first, before we do that, I went ahead and checked what version of BIOS we currently have on this system. And we currently have version 2106. And when I looked at the CPU support list, this motherboard does support the Phenom II 6-core 1045T. However, we'll need to flash the BIOS first, because when we look at the Phenom II X6 1045T, it's validated on BIOS version 2201. And of course we currently have 2106. So I went ahead and downloaded the latest BIOS for this board. And the first thing I want to do is I want to see if it has, in fact, an easy flash option. So let's go ahead and restart the system, and let's go pop into the BIOS. Alright, let's go over to Tools. Yep, we have Easy Flash too. Alright, so what we need to do is, let's get us a USB stick, and we'll put the BIOS file onto that. Okay, so I didn't have a blank USB stick laying around, so what I'm doing is I'm going to be using one of my existing drives. I've placed the ROM file directly on the root of the drive, so hopefully it shouldn't be any issue. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and restart and go back into the BIOS. Okay, so we're back in the BIOS. Let's go to ASUS Easy Flash 2. Alright. And there is our file. Press enter to load it. Yes, let's update the BIOS. And let's hope we don't have a power outage during this time. Alright, so it did complete successfully. Once it boots back up, let's go back into the BIOS and verify a couple of things. Alright, let's go to State Configuration. Alright, so it did not mess with our configuration. The thing is, depending on your system, and this is more the case with newer systems with UEFI BIOSes, is a lot of times when you update the firmware, it resets everything back to default. I mean everything except for the date and time. So you can see now we're running BIOS version 2403. So theoretically now we can just go ahead and drop in that processor. And of course I did not have an overclock on this. And I would suggest that if you're flashing a BIOS that you return your system back to stock clocks. And of course these are the overclock settings. I have overclocked this board before, not with the CPU that's in it right now. Okay, so it looks like it didn't mess with the settings, which is good. So let's go ahead and hop into Windows real quick, and then we'll shut everything down and swap out the CPU. Alright, so now we're back in Windows 10. And if I go to pull up CPU-Z, of course we can go over to the main board and see that the BIOS is reflecting the newer version. Alright, so now we're ready to go and proceed forward with changing out the processor. So what we're going to do here is, we're not going to shut down Windows 10, we're going to select Restart. This will effectively force it to shut down the OS, not go into the sort of hibernation state that Windows 10 generally wants to do. Windows 11 too, and also Windows 8 as part of the fast startup. It's generally good to do a complete shutdown when we're changing hardware. So select Restart, and then when the system reboots, I'll just manually shut it off. Okay. So now we're ready to proceed forward to the next steps. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull off this CPU cooler. So I just shut off power to the system. Alright. Just going to unplug our fan here. And we'll pull this latch to release tension on the retention bracket. And off it comes. Alrighty, so while we are changing out this CPU, we're actually changing coolers too. They're pretty much identical coolers, but I'm changing over to one which I've modded with a PWM fan. So this fan that's on there is actually off of an Intel CPU cooler. In hindsight, I wish I'd have kept the Intel sticker on there just for laughs, because of course this is an AMD CPU on this system. But anyways, let's go ahead and grab our replacement processor. And we'll lift it out. Let's go ahead and install the replacement. And of course, make sure the triangles line up. Okay, so I've already cleaned off the cord that we're going to be installing on this, but we'll need to go ahead and clean this CPU. Alright, so we're going to also apply a little bit of rubbing alcohol to this wipe. Don't need much, just a little bit. Okay. So what I gotta do here, and I'll do this off camera, is transfer over our retention bracket from the first cord to the other, since the other one is actually missing its retention bracket. I think it broke a few years back. Okay, so it's swapped over. Now we need to go ahead and apply some thermal compound. So I think this will be the final hardware upgrade to do to the Plexi before I give it Windows 11. And of course, this system does not meet the Microsoft Elite class minimum system requirements for Windows 11, but we're going to be putting Windows 11 on anyway. Alright, let's carefully drop this into place. Lock it down. Okay. Got a little bit of excess wire with this fan, but that's alright. We'll deal with that later. I'll just have to zip tie it off to the side. I'll probably zip tie it to the power supply cable there, but anyways, let's go ahead and start this thing up. And you can see there it is, Phenom II X6 1045T. Let's go ahead and run setup real quick. You can see our specs there. So I should note that this motherboard will not auto control a non-PWM fan, which the previous cooler had a non-PWM fan installed. So this one is running the fan at a reduced speed. It's showing like 41 degrees Celsius there on the CPU temp, and I can feel the heat pipes on this cooler getting warm. So we're definitely getting thermal transfer there. So we'll leave everything at defaults for now. If I have to, I'll go back in and make adjustments where needed. Okay, so I think right away we're already seeing a difference in performance on this thing. And of course, not only did we add 2 cores, we also added level 3 cache, which of course the Athlon II did not have. But of course this Phenom II does have. So, if we go into CPU-Z, you may be able to see that we have level 3 cache, 6 megabytes to be exact. And of course the extra cores also help make for improvements too. Let's pull up our monitor. Let's see what our temps are. It's not even recording the. It's not even registering the core temps. It's got the okay. That's actually the GPU. Might just be an old version of HW monitor, but I'm pretty sure it's not as nearly as old as this motherboard. But yeah, it's showing the CPU sitting at 40 degrees C. Not too awful much going on there, but yeah, so I think it's safe to say that, of course, that CPU upgrade definitely helped this thing a little bit. But of course, if we go into settings, heck, it's not even showing here, is it? I guess because we're running an older build of Windows 10. But we know for a fact this machine does not meet the Microsoft Elite class minimum system requirements on Windows 11. But we are going to be putting Windows 11 on this thing in the near future. So stay tuned for that. The Cube Computer Plexi will finally be getting Windows 11. Currently, this machine is the last remaining system I have, at least with the exception of the TV box computers. They still run Windows 10, but of course, Mentara Lux, it got upgraded to Windows 11 back in December, as well as the PortaCube system. It also received Windows 11, and of course, it's the only system I have that actually meets the Microsoft Elite class minimum system requirements on Windows 11. In other words, it meets the minimum requirements for Windows 11. I call them the Microsoft Elite class requirements for pretty obvious reasons, because those requirements are it's like the reserve for the most elite class of computers. So anyways, that wraps up for this video. That is swapping out the processor and cooling on the Plexi. And of course, we got this PWM controlled fan. It makes the Cube Computer Plexi a little quieter, because let's face it, that the fan on this other core over here is definitely getting chattery. I think it's getting worn out, or at least the bearings need to be lubed, because it was definitely making some noise. So this one right here should be good to go for a while, and it doesn't take up as much space, because I actually have a fan adapter rigged up on this one. So stick them side by side, you can see how that one there sticks out further, so frees up a little bit of space within this little area right here. So anyways, that wraps it up for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, thanks for taking the time to watch this video from Cube Computer channel. If this is your first time, please subscribe to the channel and be sure to tick the bell so we get notified of new video posts. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, leave a comment, and share this video as well as the channel with your friends and get the word out. Also, I have a second channel, that's Cube Comp MTDX. Over there you'll find videos about thunderstorms and weather, cycling, and videos about me personally. Feel free to subscribe over there as well if you like. Again, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for your support.